British Conquest of Odisha. The foundation of British Empire in India with the victory over Battle of Plassey and its subsequent confirmation in the Battle of Buxar encouraged them to occupy other parts of India. Odisha as a part of India and a neighbor of Bengal had attracted the British to occupy it. The maladministration of the Maratha rulers, their atrocities and exploitation had made the Maratha rule quite unacceptable to the Odias. Right from the days of the grant of Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha to the East India Company, the British wanted to establish their supremacy on the soil of Odisha. However, the fragile and weak Maratha administration gave the British a good opportunity to fulfill their dream of establishing their authority over Odisha. In this regard, steps were taken to occupy Odisha, and finally in 1803 it was occupied by the British. British occupation of Odisha. Weakness of the Maratha rulers. The internal conflict among the Bhonsles of Nagpur after the death of Januji created weakness among the Marathas, which had an impact on the Maratha rulers of Odisha. As the decline had started among the Marathas, their powers gradually declined away, and for which they could not get sufficient help from Nagpur. Even for suppressing the unruly landlords, they had to look for the British help. Oppression of the landlords. Taking the mileage of the weak administration of the Marathas in Odisha, the regional landlords became irresponsible and oppressive. They involved themselves in various lawless activities, and their oppression over the subjects knew no bound. The political condition of Odisha was full of chaos and confusion. The zamindars exploited the poor common man of Odisha according to their whims and fancies. Their miserable plights aggravated, and they drank tea cup of misery. So, the people were in need of ousting those oppressive Marathas as well as the zamindars. Establishment of British factories. The British, in order to establish a strong economic and military base in Odisha, established factories in different parts of Odisha. With the grant of Dewan of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha to the East India Company in 1765, the British realized the importance of Odisha from the economic point of view. When the British built up their factories at Hariharpur, Pipli and Balasore, they felt the necessity of this province from the commercial point of view. The Britishers also obtained permission from the Marathas to have their monopoly over the manufacturing of salt in Odisha. The trade routes, which passed from Cuttack to Bengal, Madras and Nagpur, facilitated their business to a greater extent. Military importance of Odisha. The British authorities felt the importance of Odisha from the military point of view. As stated earlier, Warren Hastings had to give chauth and loan in advance to the Maratha governors for the passage of British army from Calcutta to Madras through Odisha. With the coming of Lord Wellesley as the Governor-General of India in 1768, the cold touch of the British imperialism was greatly felt by the Indian powers. He took no time to annex Odisha and included it in the British Empire. The capture of Ganjam. In 1765, the British East India Company obtained the northern circles of Chikkole, Rajahmundry, Ellore, and Guntur as a free gift from Emperor Shah Alam. This included the present undivided Ganjam district, which gave the British a foothold in Odisha. The British also acquired Midnapur, which was a part of Odisha. This gave the British control of a large area of Odia-speaking territory, which made it easier for them to conquer Odisha. In 1766, the British took control of the northern circles, including Ganjam. They appointed Cotsford as the resident of Ganjam. Cotsford discovered that the area was in turmoil due to Narayan Deva of Parlikhemundi's rebellion. The British sent Colonel Peach to deal with Narayanadeva. Peach defeated Narayanadeva at Jalmur in 1768, and Narayanadeva fled to Malyas. Cotsford took over as resident of Ganjam in July 1768. As a result, Ganjam was annexed by Madras province and came under the British administration's control. The capture of Puri. Lord Wellesley wanted to capture Puri and Cuttack through diplomacy, but he also bribed Maratha officers to ensure their support. Lieutenant Colonel Campbell was originally tasked with the conquest of Puri and Cuttack, but he fell ill and was replaced by Colonel Harcourt. Harcourt's forces left Ganjam and negotiated a narrow and perilous path near the mouth of Chilka Lake. They were able to cross the passage with the help of Fateh Muhammad, a Maratha Fauzdar who had been bribed by the British. Harcourt sent a message to the priests of Puri requesting that they protect the temple of Lord Jagannath and that their privileges be respected. He also persuaded the king of Khurda to lend his assistance in exchange for a payment of 1 lakh rupees. The Raja of Khurda and the priests of the Jagannath temple welcomed the British troops, and Puri was captured without resistance on 18 September 1803. The capture of Cuttack. After the conquest of Puri, the British forces marched towards Cuttack. The Marathas resisted the British advance, but they were defeated in the battles of Ahmadpur and Mukundapur. By 10 October 1803, the entire town of Cuttack, except for Fort Barabati, was under British control. The fort of Barabati was considered impregnable, but the British were able to capture it after a bombardment on 14 October 1803. With the surrender of the Barabati fort, the Maratha rule in Odisha came to an end. Lord Wellesley appointed a commission Harcourt, Melville, and Ernst, the magistrate of Midnapur, to deal with the local chiefs who were feudatories of the Nagpur Maratha chiefs. The Rajas and Zamindars of Khurda, Kujan, Kanika, all Mayurbhanj, Angul, Hindol, Darpan, Sukinda, and Madhupur acknowledged British suzerainty and pledged to pay the annual tribute to the British authority. The capture of Baleswar. Captain Morgan led a detachment of 7 vessels to Balaramgarhi, a Maratha port. The Marathas allowed the British army to advance towards Balasore town without resistance. Captain Morgan attempted to bribe Moro Pandit, the Maratha Fauzdar of Balasore, but the Marathas seized the opportunity and imprisoned him. Captain Morgan's mobilization of British troops instilled fear in the Marathas, who fled the town late at night on 21 September 1803. The following morning, 22 September 1803, Captain Morgan easily occupied Balasore. He stationed British troops on the outskirts of town in case of a Maratha attack. After a week of stabilizing the British position in Balasore, Morgan dispatched reinforcements to Soro, led by Sly, to drive out the Marathas. At Soro, the Marathas were defeated and fled to Bhadrak. The route from Balasore to Cuttack was now clear. Colonel Ferguson, meanwhile, marched from Jajeswar to Balasore on 4 October 1803. Following that, he travelled to Cuttack to join Harcourt. The operation then began to the northeast of the Suvarnarekha river. Captain Lamb occupied Pataspur, Kamrada, Bhograi, Shabandar, and Jamukunda on Colonel Fenwick's orders and brought the Zamindars under British control through a combination of conciliatory and coercive measures. However, on 17 December 1803, Raghuji Bhonsle ceded Cuttack and Balasore to the East India Company through the Devgaon Treaty. The Devgaon Treaty marked the end of Maratha rule in Odisha and the beginning of British rule in the region. The capture of Sambalpur. Major Broughton defeated Maratha governor Tanshiya Farnewis in Sambalpur in January 1804. He concluded amicable treaties with Sambalpur's Queen Ratnakumari and the local chiefs of Raigad, Gangapur, Bamara, and Bonai. Broughton was unaware of the Devgaon Treaty, which made no mention of Sambalpur. The local chiefs never desired to remain under Maratha suzerainty in Nagpur. When Wellesley's persuasion failed to secure the handover of Sambalpur to the British authorities, he threatened Raghuji Bhonsle with war. This had the unintended consequence of the Maratha authority in Nagpur ceding Sambalpur to the British. Following Lord Wellesley's departure, Governor-General Barlow, a pacifist, restored Sambalpur to the Marathas. Sambalpur was reintroduced to Maratha rule in 1806 and remained so until 1817. In 1817, the British authorities drove the Marathas out of Sambalpur once more. The Chauhans ruled Sambalpur from 1818 to 1849. It was reannexed to British authority in 1849 following the application of Lord Dalhousie's Doctrine of Lapse. The Doctrine of Lapse was a policy of the British East India Company that allowed them to annex the territories of Indian rulers who died without a male heir. So, this is the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. To get the note of this video, scan the above QR code or check description to get the link. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day.